they're exploiting the cannabis culture. They're making money on it, and they're distorting how the public sees us because they see them as potential criminals. If they were all like us, smokers, advocates, true believers, getting out and putting ourselves at risk, then people would have more respect. But too many people are hiding and growing and just making money on it.
Yes, so people should buy hemp seeds and plant hemp everywhere, and they won't be able to tell the difference.
Well, you don't want to grow hemp because the males will pollinate all the females in any given jurisdiction.
But speaking of hemp, it's actually Mark and I, one of the most profound experiences in my life recently is on our farewell tour when we went across Canada. We spoke to thousands of people in 30-something cities.
30 cities.
We went to a massive hemp field in Saskatchewan.
Yeah.
Or was it Manitoba?
No, we just
Saskatchewan, right. And it's just one of many. And nobody really even knows they exist. But this was 6,000 acres of cannabis hemp. And I thought, okay, I've never really seen hemp, but I know it's amazing. And, you know, I've heard it all before. But let's go see what a hemp plant is like. And we went to the field, and it's just cannabis. It is cannabis as far as the eye can see. These are beautiful buds, and they're tall plants, and there'd been a bit of a flood, like too much rain earlier, so they were stunted. They're still like, you know, this tall. And there's these big, beautiful buds with the leaves and the smell and the trichomes and seeds, because they're growing it to make seeds, but they're also growing the fibers to make vehicle car doors. So that's another thing that kind of irks me, is that there's a bunch of vehicles out there with doors that are made with cannabis, and that can help save lives, because cannabis is the strongest fiber on earth, and it can be used to make everything except steel and glass, and it can be fiber and food and fuel, and really you can make fireproof houses out of it. The bricks out of cannabis can be flood and fireproof, and it's also carbon negative. So there's all this talk about, oh, we want to be carbon neutral. Well, build your house or building with hemp, and you're removing that shit from the atmosphere. I mean, this plant can save the world, and that's when Marc began, was with reading The Emperor Wears No Clothes, which is about hemp, and how hemp can save the world. And before I stood in this hemp field and had it all around me, and it was incredible. I believed it before, but I even believe it now, and I kind of thought, like some of our friends and activists, like David Levine, he's a hemp fanatic. And I always thought, okay, hemp is great, but come on, you know, you're really, really going off kind of intense here. But when I start to learn about it, it's amazing, and it's growing here in our country, and we could have an enormous industry if only people would wake up and be aware and accept it. So, you know, we've got this education campaign, and that's half the battle, is getting the truth out there, because there are so many lies out there from cannabis causing cancer, which is the opposite. THC and cannabidiol cure cancer. There is a cure for cancer. They've destroyed tumors with THC. The science is being done, but it's not being accepted. And unfortunately, in order to be used, it's going to be exploited. So we have this, you know, struggle of which way we're going to go and how it's going to unfold. But no matter what, if you get cannabis medicine to the people by whatever means, let's do it. So cannabis hemp can save the world, and Marc has helped me learn all that. Marc has taught me a tremendous amount, and I'm going to carry on. I'm going to keep telling people, and even beyond just cannabis, this massive battle we have where millions of people around the world are killed and imprisoned for their relationship with the most useful plant on earth. Because we all know there's a lot of unnatural things going on in the world. The government is trying to ban herbs and vitamins and natural products. It was introduced as Bill C-51, which was really come up strongly against back when in the last session of Parliament. But it's been reintroduced as Bill C-6, and it will give the government permission to come onto your private property if they think you're, you know, illegally selling ginseng or something. You know, like it's so broad, and the United States has already done this. And again, it's under the guise of consumer safety. It's the way that they banned homemade toys in the United States, where if you make your own little wooden trains and you paint them, if you can't afford to have that paint tested at a facility approved by the government for safety, then you can't sell that toy. And there are people being coming into contact with law enforcement and punishment in the United States for making their own toys. And the same thing's happening with organic food. You may have heard of the organic food ban. And it's the same idea, is that they believe if you grow your own vegetables in your own little plot, they may be contaminated, and therefore it's unsafe, and therefore it's illegal. I mean, this is the direction that we're heading. And again, it's all about control, controlling what you consume, controlling what you do, And that's the big battle. And also it's about sovereignty. Our country has the right to take care of its own citizens, and if they are doing something wrong, they should be punished under our laws. If Marc sold seeds and it was illegal to do it in Canada, he should be charged and dealt with in Canada because he did not go to the United States.
Yes, absolutely.
Didn't go to the United
Why
States.
aren't the others charged us? Why hasn't the other seed company?
Well, there are other seed companies. In fact, right after Marc got busted, one of the other biggest seed companies called Heaven Stairway, they ran the Overgrow website, which was stolen from Marc's phrase, but they used it and it was a massive grow site. They were taken down and they had gold bars buried in the backyard. They had motorcycles and yachts and money and they were living it up. Marc had $11 in his bank account when he was arrested. Those guys were charged here in Canada. And however, they've been waiting to sentence them or come up with a sentencing guideline. And now that Marc's taken this 5-year plea deal, he's conveniently being sentenced to 5 years in Canada.
I believe sovereignty is the question.
It is.
100%.
It is.
Canadian sovereignty with Canadian peoples. We are not supposed to be turned over to the U.S. National Crimes Commission.
Right on, man.
That is why on March the 17th of this year, I tried to arrest George Bush for war crimes in Calgary, Alberta.
Very good. Glad you were there.
I face 6 months in jail right now for that, and I'm fighting this right to the bitter end.
And see, you were one of a few hundred who showed out to protest Bush, and yet there's massive galas of thousands of people paying money to see him and to see John McCain and Halifax. So again, this is very worrisome. It's about deep integration. It's about bringing all our countries together. I don't want to get too far into that end, but again, it's about sovereignty, plain and simple. He's a Canadian
Sovereignty, if I don't
citizen.
stand up for Marc, who will stand up for me?
Exactly.
I think
And
we
that's
can
what you don't-
legitimize the process though. Health Canada has a system, and there's around 4,000 or more. I'm one of them.
Yes.
My 6th year now of using medical marijuana. I had to go through a lot of steps, a lot of
Paperwork and
difficulties
loopholes and
to
renewals,
get
and
my
it's a
ability
torturous
to grow
process.
and to use it. But when I approached the doctors in a reasonable fashion with some information, with scientific and with anecdotal information for myself, compared to some of the pills that I had been given for my neurological disorder, I didn't have any doctor poo-poo me. They said, if it works, use it. And I had no trouble getting signatures. So I'm telling people, there is a way out of this thing, at least partially. Let's legitimize the process. Let's say to doctors, hey, your pills don't work, but this strain of marijuana that I found is exceptional.
Well, there's a
And it
lot of
takes
that
away a lot
happening
of
now.
that
Is
pain
people are
and it
saying
allows
that
them
the
to do
pills
things.
don't work. The medicines they're using don't work. Their children. There's a woman in California whose son is severely autistic. He was put on so many pills he was starving to death. He wouldn't eat. It was destroying his liver. He was near death, and she gave him a pop brownie. And he started making noises. And he started making eye contact. And he was calm. Cannabis is an incredible medicine, and there's a lot that needs to be done.
The word is
But-
legitimize. I love that word, legitimize.
Well, listen, if you speak not like a stoner, not like a pothead, but somebody who's done research, somebody like you, Marc, who's been around the world, knows a little bit about politics and what's going on, they will listen.
Yeah.
And they'll be on your side. They're there to help us.
And it's starting to
So that's
happen.
an area of battle that's being won actually. The doctors are slowly coming around. For example,
The
sometimes
American Medical
it's
Association.
frustrating when we're in the middle of something, because if on a day-to-day basis it can be painful